Hello, everyone. George Webb here with Addy Ads. Addy is the hero of yesterday's Million MAGA March. 5 hours, Addy. And
Five and a half.
5.5. Incredibly great journalism. You got compliments from all over the world.
Thank you, George.
It was just awesome. You did a fantastic job. You're now going back over that and you're putting in time codes, right?
Time stamping it. I also want to do clip editing and just repost the clips too, because some great speakers there, especially towards the end. I think Mr. Jones, Vernon Jones, I believe he's from Georgia. He was the last speaker, and he's really fantastic. So I want to, cut that up. And we actually met a couple of George Webb fans who recognized me, so that was very fun.
Right about hour 38, hour 13, hour 15.
Yeah, I think it was like 1:15 or so. I can timestamp it, but shout out to those two people for, I think it was Lynn and Cody, recognized me, and they're like, George Webb, guy. They didn't really know my name, but they knew I was associated with George. So that was a weird experience. Never happened to me before.
Yeah.
But
get ready. It's going to happen a lot more.
Thanks to you, George.
Yeah. No, you did a great job. And what I loved about it so much was, I tend to talk about the older stuff, because I did 4 years and everybody wants me to talk about the older stuff, the Blackberries and stuff. But you really brought a fresh new perspective to it, and everyone just loved it. And
just gotta add that one.
Which one?
The Million Idiots March. Somebody's popping in on, looks like Twitter.
Okay.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's well, I guess if you still believe in the Constitution, I guess that's idiots. What I saw yesterday was people saying, well, there shouldn't be 4 counties that come in at the end of every election and determine who was the president, especially when the whole election, 2,994 counties, have this differential. And the Constitution and the whole representative, the electoral system was supposed to protect so that you weren't corrupt, and you could get 5 or 6 counties where there was mayors who would do anything you asked them to, and they would print votes late into the night. You only need like 10 cities to do that, 10 counties, and no matter how many counties the people go create, you can do that. And I see that happening every election now.
Yeah, so it's like Wayne County, Clark County, which is Las Vegas, and then Wayne, of course, we've spoken about. That's Detroit. And then you mentioned 2 others, right? Atlanta, right?
Atlanta, which I think is, I can't remember the name of the county Atlanta's in. That's always trouble every year. All the places that Warren Flood has Bright Blue, his little DNC Act Blue operative companies.
Mm-hmm.
And then Maricopa County, where we always have trouble.
Maricopa.
In
Joe Arpaio's stomping ground.
Yeah.
Maricopa. Yeah. The notorious Joe Arpaio, the sheriff.
So you were everywhere too. The cool thing about you being so young and athletic is you were all over the place.
Yeah,
you were up the mall and everywhere.
Yeah, I was fasting yesterday. I didn't really plan to. I just wasn't hungry in the morning, and I just, I didn't stop broadcasting, so you can't really eat. Well, you can, but I didn't eat or go to the bathroom. When I broadcast, I want a good 5.5-hour shift, which is, it was fun. It was hard work at times. I had to rest a couple times. But got a lot of great interviews as well, and really switched it up with the variety as well. I tried to give people an idea of how many people were there, because that's really hard to measure, by any standard. And I think it's a lot more reassuring that trust is there in numbers when you can see them, rather than you hear institutions tell you, oh, there's only 500 people there, when in reality there was thousands, and it seemed to me tens of thousands. It's just hard to measure that. As we get looks like what's that, hurricane warning or tornado?
Well, it depends on how many here on Cobb Island.
Did Andy McCabe send some lackeys again this way, or what's going on?
Well, it's probably Rahm Emanuel. He might have some of his licensed ambulance drivers that need to be recalled. Imran's latest shipment just came into the port of Baltimore, potentially. Who knows?
Gotham City's Rahm Emanuel at it again with the sirens while we're broadcasting. What's going on, Rob?
Yeah. So what I loved about your coverage was it was a mix. Hey, how you doing? Oh, no worries. What I love, it was a mix of coverage. And hello, hi.
Hello.
There's Levi. There, show
Yeah,
you
doggy
Levi.
friend.
Bye, Levi. There he goes. What I loved about it was it was such a
No.
okay. Go on, Levi.
We got a dog friend here.
I guess it's
But what
just
did you love about it, George?
the interviews. I mean, the interviews.
Oh, you like the interviews
of all the people.
Okay.
I mean, it was great. If you hadn't been to Washington lately, it was a beautiful day. You guys had great weather.
Oh, it was fantastic, George.
And
Very
great
blessed to have such great weather on a day like yesterday.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm trying to walk around all day. Couldn't ask for better weather.
Yeah. And so people got a chance to see all the monuments and so forth.
Yep.
But then they also got a chance to, hear the interviews of people. And
Yeah.
the number one thing I got from the interviews was how level-headed everybody is and how it really isn't about Trump. Yes, there was a lot of Trump stuff. And I see
2 Senate seats in Georgia, last line of defense. We're actually going to be heading to Georgia,
Yeah.
Mr. Lindenberg.
a couple of hours from now. This is just a stopover here to tidy up. There's a boat behind me that needed some attention.
Yeah, I fell asleep in like 30 seconds last night, guys. I was pretty beat. But George made a great breakfast, or was that Wesley this morning?
Wes.
That was Wes. So shout out to Wes for making some awesome shrimp eggs omelets.
Yeah, it was really good.
For recovery. But yeah, the interviews, George. I talked to two of your fans. One was a younger dude, looks like 20s or 30s, and then the classic, 40s, 30s, 50s, older demographic as well. And I talked to a civics teacher. That was actually my first interview.
That's right in about 11 minutes. And I tell you,
it's my first one. Yeah, right in front of the Supreme Court. And that's where we started. And then we ended there actually later in the day. Well, we as in me and you guys collectively. So,
but we're going to add chapters to it so that you can just jump to the interviews. I think 3 of them are already marked with timestamps, so you can go out there and see the civics teacher. You could see the woman is
Lynn. I believe.
Lynn.
Yeah, she's a follower of George. Actually, a recent follower. I think Cody and Lynn were only like 4 months ago or 5 months ago. They, I think, right when George and I started talking, or roundabouts there. So new followers too, recognizing George and his companions. So yeah, and the civics teacher, he really kind of blew me away in a way I wasn't expecting. Like, I was looking at this guy, I thought he was, you do judge people. The sense of vision is the most important, I think, to humans. It's what we focus on naturally first. So I do judge books by their covers sometimes. I thought he was going to be more of a blue collar kind of rural guy, I guess, but he's a very well spoken, intelligent civics teacher, and knew what he was talking about, and it felt very strongly about it. So that's another narrative too that I think the media plays, that they're all like Trump sycophants that go to these things. But you do see that, but you see that every election, every politician, everyone of some sort of standing in the public sphere has people like that around them in some way, even if it's peripherally. But I found more people to be reasonable and well thought about these topics. They weren't just Trump followers, right? Religious followers or anything like that. So really great vibes from people there.
That was the number one thing I think when you go to these events. And there's another event today, but it was going to be much smaller, and we decided not to do that. But because just need to get to South Carolina, where we have, we have to keep moving base camp. I mean, we are kind of like an army in the field. We have to keep moving base camp to where the action is. It doesn't help us. Hey, it's really be great, to take a couple of days off and go sailing, and wouldn't that be nice? But we have to kind of move toward, as I think the gentleman, Dan here had said, we got to go to Georgia in these next 2 Senate seats. But also we're involved in 2 lawsuits I'm involved in 3 in Michigan, but we're involved in 2 with great Grand Rapids Justice Center. And then the Trump lawsuit, we're doing a amicus brief. And then there's a lawsuit also in Georgia, potentially one being filed in Las Vegas, Nevada, and one being filed in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. So we're running around to all these different places. And I think the number one thing I liked about the interviews was these people care about their country and they care about free and fair elections.
Mm-hmm.
If it comes out that Biden wins, then Biden wins. They just don't want it to be a guy driving a red Ferrari. That smacks of the elites, and the elites are coming in after the station is closed, after the polls have closed, and here they come with 138,000 votes. Who wants any election to be determined that way? Do you want your next election to be determined that way, and that's the way Joe Biden loses? I don't. I want it to be a system where it's tamper-proof. You vote, and you can check your vote, make sure it hasn't been changed. We have people showing up in person, changing votes. We had Trump votes being omitted in the thousands. We're not talking about 5 or 6. We had hundreds of thousands of votes showing up. We had hundreds of thousands of votes disappearing in these 4 counties.
People throwing away votes, burning
votes.
Yeah.
So just stuff that you just can't believe. And there should be an electronic receipt and a paper receipt when you vote. And I even think taking your picture along with your vote so that you can't vote twice would also be a good protection. People would think twice before they did election fraud, sign somebody's name.
Mm-hmm. Plus the software glitches somebody mentioned too with the D word software. And
is Dominion now? Does that get you a strike?
I don't know, George. Maybe we just did, but I played it safe. Maybe I shouldn't do that, guys. But I saw somebody censors themselves, I guess, like that with saying the D word. We had the 7E before we couldn't talk about. So that may be
Dominion. I mean, I think if this turns out to be true, that there's 51 programmers in Belgrade, and that the hardware piece was done in Canada by a company associated with Warren Flood, and the software piece is done in Belgrade by David Petraeus's internet provider, which is SBB, and KKNR owns it, which is Kissinger's company. I mean, Soros funds it. At some point, I'd say, come on, guys, this is 2016 all over again, where you brought Russians in, supposedly Russians that were Ukrainian hackers. You're doing it all over again, and it's the same people. So anyway, that's what I liked about your interviews. It was everyday people like civics teachers that just want to show their kids in the class how elections should be.
Yeah, it was great. I had a couple other 2 interviews as well that are not coming to mind right now. There was a guy with the Israel flag that I asked about as well, and yeah, it was really great. Vibes. I think towards the end there was a couple Antifa that showed up. It is very funny.
Some guy got hurt. Some older man.
I think as people were leaving. I did not see that, fortunately. I didn't really see any scuffles, but I did see one person in handcuffs as I scootered away on the pay scooters there. I couldn't take an Uber or Lyft. There was just too many people, so I had to kind of scooter away. I saw one person arrested, but very, very peaceful protest.
So
I know that's kind of a catchphrase nowadays. But.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Antifa? I was in the morning. I was in Santa Monica where they smashed 111 windows in that peaceful protest. It's like, when you're a shopkeeper and you smash all the windows and then you steal all the stuff, the shopkeeper doesn't define that as peaceful protest. Dan Lindenberger is just talking about a software company board member is now on the Biden transition team. That just broke. You see that one right there? Software member.
Yeah, I see that. Is he referring to Dominion, perhaps?
Yeah. I think it's software company board member. It'd be interesting to see. No, people are talking about Scytl, SCYTL. Harry the Greek has a story out on brassballs.blog that the subsidiary is in Nancy Pelosi's in Baltimore. And of course, we remember all the fun and games up there with Imran Awan in Baltimore, and her dad being the mob kind of crank politician, the crony politician that was put in there in Baltimore. Scytl, there was this fake news story about them having their servers seized in Germany. We never covered that story. We went in the direction, though, of Scytl and looking at their encryption technology. And it had this sort of Dmitry Alperovich from the Atlantic Council, if you followed our story, his sort of encryption model where it's so complicated that somebody who really knows encryption can build a backdoor in, right? And there's only very few people who can understand it, as opposed to the kind of voting that we saw in Brexit, which was have a basket of 50 votes or 100 votes, okay? Have 100 people come up and put their ballots in, and then open them on the table after the 100 people have it, and then count out how many Biden, how many Trump, right? And this is what I think we should do for the reelection. That's not identifying anybody and their secret vote, but each person has a paper receipt of their vote. Each person can watch the 100 votes being counted out, okay? And Addy can see that, oh, that's my vote. There's my picture. That's my vote. They counted my vote. And then I know I have the receipt. So,
and how do they verify you're not going to vote again? Is that like you mentioned, like the airport, or like when you go into customs, like the cameras, like that?
Yeah. Well, the U.S. Customs has a camera with facial recognition. So if you try to vote twice, it'll flag that. I mean, this thing with Wayne County has gone on for 150 years, guys. I mean, I didn't just come up with using dead people to vote.
Yeah, and I've heard about people like Venezuelan Americans who recognize this right away because they've seen it in their country, their home country of Venezuela, the socialist kind of, quagmire that is that country currently. So in like the Cubans too, when you look at Florida, they know what communism looks like, and I think that's why Florida partially went red, is because of that strong Southern Cubano influence, where they recognize, Eastern Europeans too. They know what communism is. And I was talking to actually a detective, John Wedger, a former detective, earlier this year about this. He was talking about a friend from Eastern Europe that said the same thing. They're like, "You guys are giving your freedom away over in the West," And I think it's high time this stops. We have to get back to supporting small businesses in this country. Otherwise, we're going to just turn into a fiefdom.
Right. And somebody's saying here, Smartmatic is the company that has the board member now on the Biden transition team, Smartmatic owning Dominion. Well, we'll keep following the Dominion software. I do have a background in encryption. I do have a family member that did public key infrastructure for very big banks and very big state of Ohio and other very large states governments. So there is an encryption technology out there that can ensure your secret vote, ensure the integrity of your secret vote, ensure the integrity of the election. I don't know if it's going to be this new software or quantum.
So it can be done, George. Is that what you're saying?
It can be done. It can be done. A private public key infrastructure can be used for voting, just like it is for banking. So banking, just think.
Do you have before you go there? Do you have maybe qualms or holdbacks about, because that sounds to me like a centralization, a way of centralizing that verification system? Is there do you see any problems with that? Because I thought I heard you mention earlier about using crypto technology in some way to.
Yeah, well, encryption's a part of our life. There's no two ways about it. I mean, if you look at the watermarks on your card, credit cards and so forth, the chips, encryption is a part of it. But there are safeguards with the public keys and private keys. So you can revoke keys and you can ask for a new key if your key is compromised. There's different ways of doing it. The most important thing is that it ensures your privacy. This all goes back to Pretty Good Privacy, which is the company that we bought at McAfee. And one of the companies we also bought was Dmitry Alperovich's company, this guy in the Atlantic Council that seems to have his hand in all these elections and all these phones with all this encryption. And he ported PGP to the BlackBerry. So this is why I say this initial 1,200 BlackBerries that came in 2009, the same time Imran Khan was going into the White House. These 1,200 BlackBerries, they seem to get doled out for all these things, the wars, the elections, the energy deals, and they get passed around, as need be, like tokens. Hey, okay, you're going to do an operation in Venezuela. Here, take 50 phones, and give them to, your different folks.
I actually asked Capitol Police if they knew exactly where the Imran Khan BlackBerries were. If anybody caught the broadcast last night, I had interactions with Capitol Police and Met Police as well. Met Police, I was just teasing them about their boots, but no Secret Service yesterday. So I guess that should be expected in in hindsight makes sense because no Trump arrived, no Don. So
Dan asks about what about blockchain, and the blockchain technology is used in the quantum. It isn't necessarily used in public key, private key, but you could use the keys for computing a blockchain. So I don't want to get people too mired in the technology of it all, but there is ways to do this. We need an audit and a runoff in the 4 or 5 counties that seem to be these perennial troublemakers for once and for all to get the rules right. Because otherwise we're just going to have Warren Flood showing up. And the thing is, the software being done in Bulgaria, in Belgrade, Serbia, used to be former Yugoslavia, and the hardware done in Canada. Really? Can't we get an American election where we control everything?
Yeah.
Just because we've gone through this so many times. Look at how many attempts and coups that we had to live through, and now all of a sudden we have to listen to Biden talk about unity. Where was the unity when you were impeaching Trump over? Now we know he was covering up the Obelinsky blackberries. Where was the unity then when Adam Schiff was going on and on and on? My whole vacation, everything you flipped on well, not a vacation. We were down in Florida trying to do some reporting. It was all Adam Schiff talking about, the phone call, So I think it's time that we get it right. We could do, 100 machines in every one of those counties. 100 machines in every one of the counties, 20 days to get the machines right.
Can we review the dates again, George? So we have the safe harbor deadline, which is the 8th, I believe, of December, and then the 14th is when the electors cast their votes. The 5th is the possible runoff. Is that what you said?
The January 5th.
January 5th.
Yeah, in Georgia. I'm
okay. You're referring to the Senate.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is we have to throw everything a month back. We need a month of redo where we go to those counties that had statistical aberrations. If you're more than 3 standard deviations out, if somehow you had an inflection that's more than 3 standard deviations, a very unlikely event occurred, then we have to throw all the floodlights on and potentially do a re-election. We have to dedupe, get rid of the duplicates. That's a process that's as old as the hills. If you've been working in any kind of mail room or mail list kind of operation, deduping is critical. You don't want duplicate votes. We had stories of this Corone lady, Crone, Melissa Corone. She was on Lou Dobbs, and she was saying, hey, they were running the thing through 8 times. Yeah. Now, it might be operator error that there was a jam, but they keep running it through 8, 10, 12 times. If there's operator error, that's counting the votes 8, 10, 12 times.
I think the cameras too that are on the counters or the watchers should be able to show what they're actually doing with their hands, because you can't really see what they're doing. All you see is people at desks, like with papers.
Right.
And, I mean, you can kind of maybe pick up on body language if they're doing something suspect, but unless you see the documents in some way, I think that should be a little more closely monitored as well, because of, like the fiasco in Detroit, for example, where they're boarding up the windows.
Well, people are looking and saying, I think that's John Jones. I'll just go ahead and take another ballot out of the desk here and write John Jones. And I think he wanted Biden, and I'll just go ahead and mark Biden. It's just
like that. I don't know if you've seen that on the internet as a picture of
the inflection.
It's like a true or false question, and he writes true and false at the same time. It's like written in such a way that it's like, is that true or false? It's that. Yeah, we'll turn that T to a B. There we go.
Yeah. That's how the election went.
Yeah.
So I think anyway, I'm calling for four counties at this point, maybe 5.
So Clark, Wayne, Atlanta, and
Fulton is Atlanta,
Fulton.
and then Wayne is the big one, and then
Detroit.
Of course the Philadelphia area and Detroit.
Philadelphia.
Are the big ones.
Yeah.
And if we don't get it right this time, if we get the rolls right this time, then it'll be good for the 2022. Do you really want 2022 to be another? Let's wait and see when Warren Flood's Ferrari is going to get here. Well, it's 344. Here it is. Do we want that again? Really? Do you really want that again? I don't.
And this is not just about Trump either, because in 2024, we want to have a fair election then as well, an election that has due process and transparency. So Trump's the candidate, yes, and he's the guy right now.
Yeah.
But it's not just about him; it's about the country and the future of it.
Yep. Okay, so with that, I'll leave you with one piece of trivia. If you look over here, that's where Colby took his last canoe ride. And one of the things I should have mentioned more to John O'Loughlin, who was the FBI agent who was Doug Valentine wrote a book using the information from Colby about John's dad. And if you may remember from the book, there was this mountain yard tribe in the highlands of Laos and Cambodia. And they were trying to help John's dad stop this drug trafficking inside the CIA. And the book ends where they're unsuccessful in their effort. But I won't spoil all the exciting in between because it's an amazing book. But TDY it's called, which is short for Tour of Duty. But there was a couple, 6, I don't know if they were Montagnards or not, but that tribe. But there was some tribe that was kind of on Colby's side in Vietnam, in South Vietnam, that moved here and became fishermen just right around the corner. It's sort of like Colby's private little network that maybe helped keep him alive. I don't know all the details, but they were these fishermen. And Colby, he would always take this kayak around the corner. And you just wonder if he was dropping, intelligence drops to the Montagnards, because nobody ever bothered him down here. And then when he was killed or drowned, we had people all over this island that were part of the search team for 10 days looking for him. That was the last that we saw the other 6 guys too. The other 6 Montagnard guys, or whatever tribe, whatever group they were in. If they were South Vietnamese intelligence or whatever. But it just adds a little fuel to the fire.
CIA director without a paddle right behind us here, folks.
Yeah. What do you got right
Mr.
here?
Colby. What do you think about Facebook? Changed it to Biden projected versus president-elect. I'm actually going to change my Twitter name to president-elect Addy Ads. So,
well, the last thing I'll say is
president-elect George Webb's going to take the floor now.
For Paul Cottrell, 2024. The last thing I'll say is 37 days. Al Gore thought he was the president-elect, and before certification. And I think Facebook's realizing you can't call it until the people who really matter, the certifier, the electors, elect. It's sort of like, I'm the president-elect, but the electors haven't met yet. Well, no, you're not the president-elect. You're the projected president by the media, but you're not the elected president. So you're not the president-elect. So I'm glad they understand what the dictionary is. I wish the AP would understand what the dictionary definition is, and the New York Times and CNN. I think this is the whole thing. It seems like an operation. It seems like all this stuff hit us in like D-Day.
You got to look at the rules here, folks. Let me get up here so we can get George. No electors have cast their votes. Okay, there's no votes cast. So we have an electoral college system where the electors usually vote representative of their districts. Right now, I think in Utah, last election they voted different. So occasionally there's some difference.
Somebody a protest vote or something like that.
Yeah. But usually
and
that's
there are
the way it goes.
Some legislatures that split their vote. And
I think Nebraska and Maine.
Are the two. Yeah.
And again, they haven't cast their votes yet. So because that you can't have a winner unless the votes are cast. Our votes have been cast, but the electors' votes have not been cast. And
remember,
regardless of everyone staring at you and being like, Biden won, that doesn't make it so. Everybody gathers in a room of 100 people and points at you and says, gravity's acceleration is 10 meters per second squared. You say, actually, it's negative 9.8 meters per second. So
there you go.
It doesn't make it true just because a bunch of people are saying it, let alone the media.
I like it. Well, I didn't think I was going to get a gravity lesson in here, but we did. Thank you to the great Addy Ads. Great coverage yesterday. You just really did a great job. And please, if you haven't subscribed to Addy Ads, also, it's ADDYADDS.
And the Neighborhood News Hour studio, Neighborhood News on YouTube. Just type that in and you can subscribe to us as well.
And hour.com, you should take you there. neighborhood news. If you just type in neighborhood news now in the YouTube, it'll take you right there. We went past 2,000 subscribers. We're going past 100,000 views. This is the third time. We've been canceled twice. So hopefully YouTube will realize that African news is just as important as American news and newscasters.
And if people want to possibly meet up with me on one of my adventures, feel free to DM me. We're going to down south in a bit here.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll be in Georgia.
We should promote that. Yeah.
Georgia. And then we're going to talk about where we're going today, too? Or...
Yeah, we should tell everybody we're going to Myrtle Beach, and the reason is we've got one of our correspondents in Myrtle Beach, and he's got a house that he's going to make available, and I'm also making a house available for a week just to get everybody introduced if they don't want to stay at somebody's house they're not familiar with. But we're going to be going to Savannah, which is the first stop.
We're going to gift Savannah to Trump for Christmas.
Yeah, it's sort of like our March to the Sea, and it just, we need to be in a place where we can have free lodging, and it's just the expense of the correspondence is the key.
Also Civil War analogies as well.
Oh, right. Yeah, we have to have that. This wins the war if we win Savannah. But seriously, it's for the long haul until the runoff election. So it's going to be someplace we have to be with a lot of correspondence over a long period of time, and we're going to be going back and forth. People, you can still go to the NewsHour in Michigan right now, and we still have people like Melissa Carone who are available to come down. All the whistleblowers can be invited now to the Temperance, Michigan location, and I'm going to be going back and forth. If we get a group, we're going to be going back and forth. We need to go to all locations right now. We need to go to Pennsylvania. We've got Tracy Connors up there, who's been so great with her coverage. We have Anna Vandersteel and all her folks out in Las Vegas. So it really is a team effort in these key swing states. And these are all the Dominion states. These are all the Warren Flood Dominion voting system states and counties. So how did we know? How did I know when Aaron came up to me and said, well, the county was last time? Oh, yeah. Where can you donate?
We can donate. You can donate at PayPal. The links, actually, I might put them in later, but my links are all on my page, and the Neighborhood News Hour links should be on the page as well. PayPal, GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribe Star as well. And because we're demonetized, we can't do super chats, unfortunately. But when we do live streams, we've been doing entropy chats, which is a new service you can do outside of YouTube for super chats and uncensored live chat as well, which I'm trying to slowly get people to migrate towards when I do my live streams. But George also has a Patreon as well, George Webb. And I think that is it. If you want to send checks,
all one word for me. I think at George Webb at Patreon. Checks.
To Temperance.
I think Temperance, 1671 Stearns Road in Temperance, Michigan, is the best place for checks.
48182.
Aaron's got the most infrastructure that costs money that you just can't. And we may move away from that infrastructure if we don't fill it up. I mean,
I just got a new one. Thank you, Lady Mashir. Appreciate it.
Okay, great. Yes.
Very pretty hair, by the way.
She does. She has that photo with the L'Oreal would be higher.
Get the L'Oreal photo going.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all the subscribe stuff. But the big thing is McDuff 2020, McDuff_2020. Go support him. Go support Mark Kulak, Harry the Greek at brassballs.blog.
Ryan Dawson. Charlie Robinson, too.
Although he said he used a bad word.
George doesn't. I'm speaking for myself here. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he used a bad word. I don't like it when he uses the C word, especially when he puts Israel in front of it. But anyway, Ryan, potty mouth brother, you got to clean up.
I'm getting you guys to talk. I'm going to get you.
I like Ryan. I like Ryan. I think Ryan's got a lot to say. I just, the potty mouth. You got to watch that potty mouth. So anyway, maybe we have a different demographic, But anyway, yeah, Ryan Dawson out there. This is the group of people that I've met and I trust, and I put my faith and trust behind, and I know how hard they work behind the scenes. So that's why I'm saying them. I've never met Ryan.
I understand. But I haven't either, but I really like his work, and he's been supportive of me, so I like
Yeah.
to reciprocate.
Yeah. And Sean Atwood has been very supportive of you. You've got some mega stars in.
Sean is on
Europe.
another planet right now. He's doing great. He deserves it though. He's fantastic.
You mean in terms of he's over 1 million subscribers?
I think he's at close to 600K right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so big ups to Sean. He deserves it. Amazing life story. I urge people to check out some of my book reviews if you want to just get a taste, and then you can dive deeper. He's actually giving away free books right now. If people want to check that out, let him know I sent you. If you do, if you like a free ebook or Kindle book, you can go over to Sean's page.
And was Aaron's Patreon deleted? I don't know if it was or not. We do have a GoFundMe in the YouTube lawsuit. We had a lot of balls in the air, folks.
I haven't had a time to sit down since I left Michigan, so I'm gonna take a peek at that later.
Yeah, literally.
We
got in last night here at 2 a.m. So we were working all morning, and so I did a show with Paul Cottrell. You can see that out there later today, and I think that's a good wrap. We should go. Maybe get a
great march yesterday. Really great. I had to hold it there for a bit, but I realized after a while your body is just like, okay, you're not going now. So 5.5 hours, guys. I think I sat down twice. The rest of the time I was standing, moving around, talking to people. And it was really fantastic weather and great views of our capital.
Yeah, no, and all of the monuments and everything. I just want to say, if people want to go out there and timestamp, sometimes when you have a long one like that, 5.5 hours, people won't open it up. They want to jump around. And if you go out there and you see something you like, timestamp it and say, oh, the woman from Pennsylvania talks at 2 hours. So you put 2:41 for the minute mark. And then
even if it's just one timestamp, I'll corral them all if you guys do it and put them all together in one. But regardless, I'm going to do that anyway. Once we're getting the YouTube chapters to work, we were troubleshooting it earlier. So
and the thing about chapters, if you start over here and you'll see the segments, all the segments, and each segment will have different names as you go across, as you go across the screen like this. Okay, and that way you can go to that interview, and then you can see all the interviews in one go.
Yeah,
so
put your cursor over the load bar and it'll show you.
Yeah. Okay. Bullying people with their families. Yeah. The Antifa at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see any Antifa. It was funny. I was going to mention earlier. Great segue, Squeaky. Thanks for that. There was a man. He made me laugh pretty hard. I think he was talking to his wife or something, or his daughter. He was like, "There's some Antifa over here. Let's go see the Antifa. There's 2 of them." Sounded like he was talking about like a wild African animal that you don't see very often. It's fantastic.
Went to Congo last year. I saw 2 Antifas.
There's 2 Antifas there.
Sorry. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. We're going to probably remember Addy's half Indian. I've got a huge amount of Cherokee blood. We're not making fun of our.
Yeah, we're not black bloc, guys. We're wearing black today.
Yeah, we're more Indian than you, Democratic Party. Most of you people over there,
especially Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren. I think I'm 64 times more Indian than Elizabeth Warren.
This guy
65. You're like you're halfway to Journo. So we'll let you go. Thanks everybody.
Stay frosty, folks.